I truly believe in life that everything would feel nearly perfect if we could just be completely present in every task that we are doing and not be wandering off in our head. Hello and welcome to the Grateful Podcast with Jack Wagner. I'm your host, Jack Wagner, and here we talk about how to build, create, share, and just find the gratefulness that's in your life and how to bring it to your everyday life to just feel happier, healthier, and better overall. When you're grateful for something, I truly believe that just increases the quality of your life and how you're feeling with yourself. So that is my mission with this podcast. Hey guys, and welcome back to episode 9 of the Grateful Podcast with me, your host, Jack Wagner. Today, I want to talk about the intricacies that we see in life on a daily basis that we overlook and just how to be more present in life as well. This is something that I don't think I've made clear in the previous episodes that I would really like to talk about today, and it's that I'm in no way a perfect human being. I'm not above you, and I'm not truly authorized to give you all this advice, whatever that authorization would mean. Nobody's perfect, and I normally pick these topics based on things I've been working on in my life recently or would like to start focusing on. Today is going to be a really cool episode because this is an aspect of my life that I feel like I have a lot of experience in, but not necessarily experience with succeeding in it. It's experience with trying to be present and learning how aware I could be. And I think that's the start. So I'm really excited to talk about this because this has been a focus in my life for the past year and a half. Yeah, a good amount of time. As always, before I get too deep into the subject, I would like to start off by saying that I'm feeling really grateful today. I'm just feeling grateful today for being here in this eternal moment. And I get to be here alive and just right now. That's the greatest gift, truly. And I'm so thankful for it. Sometimes I can really forget about this, and I think it's easy to just be unaware of how special it is to have the gift of life. And that's why it's so important to continuously remind ourselves of the same thing. So, as usual, that leads right into our topic. So, the thing I would like to talk about is how can we be present, and what even is being present? Like, what does that mean? Presence. We hear it so much, right? I think often we get this image of like a Buddhist monk with beautiful mountainous scenery meditating alone. But truly, presence has to be in every moment. If you want to be truly present, it's everywhere. If you're in a bustling city, everyone around you, or if you're having a bad moment, like not bad, I don't like that word. That's giving, I don't like bad. But if you're having a moment that you're not necessarily enjoying, you still have to be present with that. And so that's presence. But if you're still asking, like, what is presence? Well, you're doing a good job with asking your questions, because that's the exact thing I asked myself when researching for this project. I looked at many sites and found Harvard's research website, and they said this. They said that mindfulness is a skill. So a lot of people associated mindfulness and presence. I'll just let you know. But I think this did a good job of defining presence, or at least what I was thinking. Mindfulness is a skill that involves focusing attention on the present moment rather than dwelling on the past or thinking about the future. Mindfulness can be practiced anytime and anywhere, but that does not mean that it's easy to focus our minds on the present moment. No, not easy at all. Not easy at all. That is what we're talking about today. Okay, so yeah. Now we know that being present is literally focusing our attention on right now. And I think we all kind of know that already, but it's important to drill it in, right? We can't learn without the fundamentals. Experts become experts because they did the basics so many times. That's a little quote from Alex Ramosi. I don't know if it's a direct quote, but I like that concept. Also, although we know this, I think that a lot of times we search for more when in reality it's as simple as that. It's just difficult, right? So something I find that relates to presence. I'll talk about how in a second, but often we get told, like, you have to do this to do this, right? Like, these are the basics, like, just do it and you'll succeed. But it's hard, right? And we know it's hard. So we don't necessarily want to do that. So we search for an easier way out, right? But it's just difficult to do it. There is no easier way to get it done the way you want it, right? When something is difficult, I think that we don't want to put in the effort. So we end up putting in even more effort, finding an easier way to get the same thing. For example, I was in class the other day and the teacher called on the kid and she answered and she had an answer and she was like, did you cheat? Did you use this all online? And she's like, yeah. And teacher goes into a speech and she's like, well, I think that you put in exactly the same amount of effort, if not more, looking up all that online, finding the right article, copying it all down, right? And you still don't understand it because you didn't put in the real work to try to understand it. You just put in the work to try to get it done. So it's a nice little side topic I'll talk about here. But I think this is very related to presence as well. Personally, I find that my brain's first response when I'm doing something difficult is to try to find the most efficient way out or the best excuses to stop. Psychologically, this is the process and flow state called Jack, you remember the word, but basically it's the hard part, right? The struggle phase. That's the word. It's called the struggle phase when we start doing something hard. Basically, I'm spending all this energy in my life making my life harder, right? Because I'm trying to get out of this moment. I'm like, get me out of here. Get me out of here. I would rather be anywhere than doing this hard thing. So I'm making my life harder by not being in the moment with my tasks. I'm just trying to escape. When in reality, it would become a lot easier if I just surrendered to the moment, right? And after struggle phase, when you end up hitting flow, when you're doing something and time passes away and it just becomes so flowy. Yeah, the flow state. I don't know if you guys know what that is. I think I've talked about it here before. It's something I'm obsessed with, and it's basically when time passes away, your prefrontal cortex stops working so efficiently, or it just kind of turns off. And it's when you're doing a task and you're hyper aware. It feels like you're not aware, but you're hyper aware of everything. Time passes away, and because your prefrontal cortex is what controls time and your understanding of time, right? So like that's what's making me realize, okay, 7:40 right now. All right, so it's like in the morning, right? The sun's rising. Oh yeah, that makes sense. So when it passes away, like you're just in that moment, and that's flow state, and it feels so good. So many people are addicted to this flow state. There's some books out there, you should read them. And it is related to presence, so I'm not just going off topic there. But I see this everywhere in life, right? I see this, or if you just surrender, if you let the flow come, if you get through that struggle phase, if you pass it through and just say, well, man, I'm not helping myself by trying to get out of this. Like, let's just be here right now. It works. Like, you have no choice. I see this in a book. There's a book called The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer that I listened to a few months ago. And as you can probably gather by the title, surrender is the topic of the book. One thing before I talk about the book, surrender does feel like a word that, like, I don't want to surrender, right? I want to have control. That's what I first thought when I heard about it. Thing is, you're less powerful than all these forces of the world, right? And so you're not going to be able to control it all. Control what you can control in your life, for sure, to make it what you want. You can also control your ability to surrender and let go the things you don't have control over. And that's surrender. Let go of the things you don't have control over, right? And just don't try to get out of something difficult. Don't try to stop what you're doing. Don't try to get out of your current present moment. Just surrender to it, right? Because this is your present moment. You're here no matter what. You can't change that, right? It's a rule of life. We're in this moment. So surrender to that and don't try to get out of it. So in this book called The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer, he tries to become present in the moment by focusing on surroundings and stopping the voices in his head. He ends up stopping the voices in his head, all of his thoughts, he went through a spiritual journey, and he became very peaceful. He decided to let go of his personal preferences and simply let life call the shots, as the book description says, which is a good way of putting it. I'd like to compare it to real life Yes Man, okay? Because I don't know if you guys have seen the Jim Carrey movie, but very funny. Just says yes to everything. But this is what he was doing. Any opportunity came up, he would say yes. He would just let life call the shots. And he would just be present in the moment, as there are always great details that could lead to significance. And that kind of explains his life. I'll let you guys read the book, but he followed a spiritual journey, ended up to start a temple, ended up starting a construction company, and then learning about code and becoming a CEO of a business. And crazy life this dude had. He just trusted in life. That's how he did it. And if we just trust in life and we put significance on every moment, and then I feel like we can understand it, all the details and everything that's leading to the next moment. Despite just seeing examples of people like Michael A. Singer display how presence can be amazing, we can take a look at just daily tasks as well. More present in the moment, we're better listeners, right? So that's so important. When you're present in what's happening right now, you're a better listener. And that causes better relationships, right? And in a relationship, any type of relationship, listening is one of the most important things you can do. When you're a listener, people feel comfortable talking to you and opening up. And you can't listen for real if you're not present with them. If you're somewhere else, if you're daydreaming about your upcoming vacation or something, you're not going to be present in your conversation. And the person's going to feel that. And they're not going to trust. They're not going to open up as much to you, right? And that's the importance of listening and being present in a relationship. And relationships, as I talked about in my previous podcast episode, bring us more joy than anything in the world. Okay, next. In his book, Being Peace, famous Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh talked about the importance of presence. I highly recommend this book. This dude, if you just watch him speak, he was one of the most peaceful people I've ever listened to. Through a screen, it just brings this wave of peace over me when I listen to him. And he talked a lot about how to be present. And he said that we must connect with our body and do things such as mindfulness meditation. But the connect with our body is another big point that I wanted to touch on today, because he talked a lot about this. He talked about the difference between body and mind. He talked about the lack of presence and alignment between the body and mind. And he said that it leads to being sick. There's no way to measure that evidence, but I personally find it true. I find that recently I have had a lack of connection between my body and my mind. And I've been sick more often than I have in the past. And we're not just our mind. The self is such a argued concept in science. But in my opinion, I'm not just my mind. I'm not just up here, This is all part of me. Thich Nhat Hanh, he believed that we are souls and our bodies are just a vessel for us. But they're a vessel that's important and lives our life. And so we need have a good relationship with it. You can't overlook it. You have to understand the feelings. What's it feeling? How are my legs feeling? Where are my feet touching the ground? Do I feel pain when they touch the ground, right? These are more the important details of your life that we just overlook. And they feel so important for just really living life in the present, because someday we are all going to die, right? And when we all die, we're going to regret some things, maybe, but the goal is to not. And if you're not present with your body, I think that's going to be a big regret. Presence is living your best life, really. Presence is being in every moment and saying, like, just thank you, just being here. Another thing that Thich Nhat Hanh talked a lot about was breath. And so I have this story, or it's not my story, it's in Jay Shetty's book, and he shares it on his podcast as well. He was in a monastery, and he saw a 12-year-old kid teaching a class to a bunch of 5-year-old monks, and he asked them what he was teaching them. And the kid responded, their breath. It's their first ever class. And then he responded, what did you learn in your first class? The alphabet? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, here we teach the breath because it's the most important thing in life. It's the only thing with you from when you're born to when you die. I always remember that. And I always try to be present with my breath. When you're present with your breath in everyday life, it just grounds you. It just grounds you. Breath is the center of everything we do. As you said, it's with you from birth to death. And when you're present with your breath, when you cannot overlook this simple thing that is really so important, connects your entire body, it helps you be present in the moment and appreciate certain things. One thing that's helped me a lot with being more present with my breath is meditation. I'm going to be honest, I'm keeping it short this morning because I don't have too much time, and so I'm not going to read a bunch of meditation statistics to you, but it's so awesome for you. I'd recommend that you look them up yourself, and maybe I'll make another separate episode fully on the concept of meditation. Do yourself a favor and please just try it for a month. If you try it for a month, not just a week, not just a day, because after that, you're probably like, no, I don't like this, I don't like this. You try it for a month. Tell yourself, I'm going to do it for a month, every single day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It will stick. I promise you, because you'll see the benefits that it has. It makes you feel so good if you try. So I've become more present in my life, I think. I've tried that. And I realized, man, when I'm present, I'm so much happier. I'm just right now, because that's where we always are in life. We're always right now. There's no getting out of this moment. Everyone tries to escape the moment. Every form of entertainment is a type of escaping the moment. We have this in front of us. I bet you guys have heard it, but like, you hear the clock. They're multiple. Can you guys hear the birds in the background? That might be too quiet for you. Those of you watching, maybe you can tell behind me that it's just, the sun just rose. It was a beautiful sunset. I have a cat sleeping next to me right there. Yeah. There's so much in every moment. My breath feels a little shallow this morning. It's okay. But here's just an example of noticing things. When I notice things, I'm in the moment. Don't have to necessarily think about them. Just notice them. It's more present in my life. And if I do that in every moment of my life, I'm going to live a more joyous life that I'm happier about. I'll be more grateful. That's for sure. It's exactly the feeling that I'd just love to share with everyone in the world. Because, trust me when I say that feeling grateful, feeling present like this there's nothing else is like it. And if everyone felt this way, I know for sure the world would be a better place. That's where I'm going to leave you guys today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Love you all and stay grateful. Bye. I hope that you enjoyed listening to this episode of the Grateful Podcast with Jack Wagner. If you like the podcast and would like to support its growth, please consider subscribing to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check out my YouTube channel under my name and see all of the positive content that I've put out there. Thank you so much, and I hope to get to see you next week. Love you all. Bye.